I'm glad y'all are here. And if you know anybody that is not able to be here that's missing this right now, we are recording it, and we'll have it to where we can share that information with everybody. There's going to be some numbers and figures up on the screen that we're going to be talking about. There's going to be a couple of numbers and figures that aren't up there. Feel free to write them down. But first off, I want to start us off with saying that 2020, we're going to be looking at mainly financially what 2020, how we made it through 2020. We got into our building in February. We got out of our building in March. We got back in our building around summer. We played this back and forth game, and during all of that, God really blessed our church. God really blessed what we were doing in a time where most churches wouldn't try to plan a church and get in a building and redo an entire building. In a pandemic, we did it all right before it, and God still moved in a lot of ways in our church. And we want to talk about and thank God for some of those things today. So I want to give y'all kind of a snapshot of our finances from 2020. And I'll give you just a disclaimer. In 2020, we were getting into a building. We were starting to pay rent in a building when we hadn't before. We were paying utilities in a building we hadn't before. We were trying to do events and activities in a building that we didn't have any of that to do before. So we didn't have a set budget for 2020. And that's simply because we had zero clue when we get in our building, if we would get in our building, and what that would look like. And it was really hard to make a budget for that. We have a budget for 2021 because we've been able to be in a building, or at least pay rent on a building and utilities on a building for 10 months of 2020 and have activities through it. So I want to give you an idea of what giving was like, tithes and offering. And if you gave in 2021 and if you're still giving now, thank you for that. If you're still praying about that, that's okay. Thank you for praying about it. But let me give you a snapshot of what 2020 looked like. And these are numbers that are looked over and done by our South Campus. So our administrator there and our financial person there, they take care of all the money that come in through this campus because we are not yet fully autonomous from that campus. So they have the resources to be able to take our money in to do all the stuff that puts it in the bank accounts, cut checks, do all that stuff. We don't have a team here yet for that. We hope to get there eventually as we move to be more autonomous. But our total tithes and offerings that were given in 2020, and can I say that in a new church, in a small but growing church, our tithes and offerings, our total just tithes and offerings last year were over $107,000. That's insane. That's amazing. That's awesome. We were also finishing up a building at that point. So our expansion offering that was given towards the building in 2020 was $20,575. Now, let me clarify something before you see the next thing that showed our expenses. We started that building project in September of 2019. So the majority of our expansion fund offering was given at that point. And then the $20,000 was on top of what was given before that, and that'll be reflective of what we were paying out in 2020 in expenses. So our total tithes and offerings, $107,000, a little over that. The next slide is our expenses for the year of 2020. Our operating expenses, $40,000. That's really everything that was to get us in this building, to get it going. Office supplies, stuff like that. Since we didn't have a full budget laid out, we run our budget through three different areas: love God, love people, serve the world. But then we have an operating, and before we were able to really subdivide all of that, a lot of stuff went under operating that now is going under cleaning supplies or office supplies or all this other stuff. But in 2020, operating was a lot of stuff that we needed to get us going and to get us off the ground. So $40,000 went to that. Our Love God, which was our worship and praise in that area, we had about $13,000 spent. And a lot of the majority of that was getting our live stream going because we had to get that done right after we got in our building, and that wasn't something we had planned on. But live stream and other stuff we've had to do throughout the year to get us to where we're at now. our Love People, our small group stuff, that was 4,800. Serve the World, that's 12,000. Let me explain real quick how we do our Serve the World. Our Serve the World is really our missions focus. And two things that we do here with the tithes and offerings that come in, and that's going to be reflective of the numbers I give you in a minute that aren't going to be up there, but I'm going to read them off to you. Out of everything that we get in, we tithe 10% off of all the tithes and offerings that come in. That's our Serve the World. We use that to help support local ministries here, national ministries in the U.S., and international overseas. And right now, a couple of those are, we have 2 church planners in Boston that we have been trying to set up trips to go and to help them, but COVID really messed that up. But we help them with their churches. We have a missionary in Albania that we're hoping to get a trip to Albania as soon as flying can do that, and we can do all that stuff that we help support there. And then we have local ministries here, and that list and that number is going to continue to grow of our local ministries that we support throughout the year as I continue to look and seek new ministries that we can partner with. I had a meeting with one just last week. I hope to have several more throughout this year that we can add to our list of places that we help support that we can give to. So that number really is 10% of what we bring in, a little bit more if it was given specifically to certain ministries. But so we tithe 10% off of our tithes and offerings. We also save 10%. That goes into a savings account. That is really, we like to practice Dave Ramsey's rule of having several months there to cover expenses in case something happens. So we have been saving up for that, and I'll give you those numbers in a second of where we're at from our last numbers that we had generated that would get us to about 3 weeks into to 2021. But the last number, we had $80,600 that were spent towards the building. That was coming from funds that were given in 2019 plus the one in the $20,000 in 2020. And at that point when we got in this building, we got in here debt-free, meaning we raised all the money we needed to cover everything getting in this building. So we don't owe anything on any of the equipment, on any of the labor, on any of the material cost. We came in here free and clear on that. The only thing we pay in this building is our utilities and rent. So we were, which is a fantastic place to be. God did an amazing thing there. So that was what our 2020 looked like. Let me give you real quick of where we sit right now. And again, those numbers aren't here because I had to get an updated one over the weekend, and we weren't able to put it in because Red had already done all this, and I didn't want to add more to his plate. But I'm going to give you those numbers real quick. Right now, currently in our savings account, which is what we're calling our I call that a nest egg thing. It's kind of there to help cover household stuff whenever if there's a month or 2 months of just no giving period, which hopefully that's not the case. But just in case, right now we sit at $14,000 in our savings account. Our budget for 2021, believe it or not, is almost identical to what our tithes and offerings were in 2020. Our budget is $107,500. That is that's reflective of several things, and I want y'all to understand this right out the gate. This campus, the Rabun campus, the campus that I pastor right now, covers a little over 20% of my salary. All right? When I started, our South campus was covering my full amount, and that is planning on, as we become more self-sustaining and autonomous, to where we can cover that, and eventually they then open up another salary for another church plant to start something else, because their goal is to continue to plant churches and to reach areas that need a church there that can reach people. So this is reflective of part of my salary, all monies that we have set aside for worship leader, for potential other hires that I want to try to make through the year that help us grow in our ministry. It's also reflective of opportunities and events that we want to have throughout the year. So that budget is reflecting all the growth that we're hoping to have through this year. We want to budget for what we're planning for and the growth we're wanting to see, not just trying to stay consistent and not really do anything and be stagnant. So these numbers include ways and different funds that we want to spend to help our growth here over the next year and moving forward. So that budget is $107,500. We've got $589 left in our expansion fund. We actually had money left over getting in here. We're hoping that if people feel led that they want to continue to give to that, because eventually we hope to outgrow this side of this building. And if God opens up that side, we'll have to do something there. If God opens up a completely different place, we want to have the funds to get into that place as well. So if people want to feel led to give towards that, expansion is really what that means. It can mean us expanding into this area. It can mean us expanding areas in here and doing work that help us expand as the ministry grows. It can mean expansion as far as building a new building or getting somewhere else. That's what expansion means. Anything that we have to do as our ministry grows for us to expand and to accommodate the ministry growing, that's what expansion funds mean. So if you want to give to that, and you feel led to give to that, you can write that down on your check or online when you do it. If you want to make sure it goes into that, just let me know you gave to it, and I'll just let our people know somebody gave. Make sure it goes in the expansion fund. So in our checking account right now, and this is what blows me away, in our checking account right now, we have right at $40,000 that's there. So we have $14,000 in our savings. We have roughly $40,000 that's sitting in our checking account, and $500 some odd dollars that's sitting in our expansion fund. We plan from our elders and stuff. We plan on going ahead and taking from that $40,000 that sits in our checking account and capping off 2 total months worth of savings, which would put right at $19,000 in the savings account. Because if we look at our budget, our operating budget throughout the year, not including our 10% to savings and 10% to missions, we roughly have about an $89,000 budget this year. So 2 months worth of that would put us right under $19,000. So we hope to take some, cap that off, and then find other ways to be able to use that savings money throughout the year to help with ministry growth and stuff like that. But we're at a really good place financially. We're at a phenomenal place financially. First off, don't hear what I'm not saying. We still need to operate. We still need to grow. We are still planning on doing things throughout this year, hiring more people to run ministries that right now I'm doing or other people are doing volunteer base, so that we can focus attention in ministries and help grow. So please don't hear, man, they're at a good spot. I can start putting a little bit more back in mind. If you're giving and tithing and stuff, continue to do that. If you're still praying about that, continue to pray about that. We survive off of God's blessings that hopefully come because God's leading you to give through tithe and offering. And we hope that God grows our church tremendously through this year, and we can use these funds to help with that growth. But right now, we're at a phenomenal place to be a church that really got kicked off in our building in the middle of a pandemic. You have been faithful, God's been faithful, and we're sitting in a fantastic spot for 2021, really with an unknown of what's going to happen this year, but an excitement that God's going to do some pretty awesome things. So does anybody have any questions off some of the information that we gave just then? Hopefully y'all understand what we do with our finances here, and that we make sure that we are using wise principles with the tithe and offering you give us. We're not wasting that money. I have a team of elders that look over our expenses every time we meet. I have an administrator at our South Campus that makes sure that she's checking on stuff, and I can only spend so much at one time without getting approval. So there's safeguards in place to where I'm not just spending all the money here, and I have no desire to do that anyway. If you know me personally, I would rather money sit in the account and save and me not spend it in my own house. But I also know that in order to grow, money's got to be spent. So we want to make wise decisions with those funds. So any questions on any of that stuff? All right. Well, I either explained it so clear that y'all are like, wow, I have zero questions, or you just don't have any questions. And hopefully that means you trust us, trust our leadership. That's what we want. If y'all haven't met our leadership yet, we have 3 elders. We have commissioned our newest elder this year. Last year, we commissioned our first 2 elders. Our newest elder is Ken Weldon, who's sitting right back here. Our other 2 elders are Chris Garrett, who is sitting right here, and BJ, who's sitting back there. So these guys, our elder team is what we call the guardrails of our leadership. They help to make sure that myself and right now Rhett and then any future hires, that we are operating in a way that reflects God, that honors God, and that is responsible for our church. So they reflect that. I cast the vision and help lead the church. They help make sure that it's following God's will and that I'm not getting out of line and so on and so forth. All right, I need some people to help keep me in line. All right, which is okay. We all do. It's iron sharpening iron. I don't need any amens. Okay, iron sharpening iron. So I'm appreciative of our leadership team, but I also meet regularly and weekly at our South Campus with our team there because they still, in some sense, still oversee a lot of what we do here. We report to the elders that are down there, and I report regularly to our financial folks there that take care of all those decisions, and to Kevin, who is the senior pastor at the South Campus. So they help us in a lot of what we do. But right now we're at a place where we're self-sustaining. We are setting ourselves up for growth, and I'm excited about it. I hope you're excited about it. I'm excited about our online stuff. I was looking at our numbers earlier. We had a large group of people online with us this morning. That's fantastic. We already know. In fact, we had at least around 20, if not more, that were following us online this morning on our website. Hopefully our Facebook thing will get fixed, and if not, we'll just go right to our website. So there's not a lot we can do with that. So we still have people involved. Hopefully we'll get through this whole time, and people will be more comfortable coming here. Our goal is to not build an online church to where people only want to do that. It's really to establish an online church where we can connect people with our church. But we're thankful that we can do online church right now with people who can't get out at this moment. So we're thankful for y'all. If y'all think of any questions or anything coming up in the future, email me, caleb@rpcc.me. Give me a call, reach out. I'd love to share any more information that maybe we missed today or that you have any questions of, so that way you feel confident and comfortable with our leadership here and where we're going as a church. So thank y'all for staying. Thank you for listening to what we're going on and being invested in the church that you worship at. I've been in a lot of information meetings, and a lot of those is it's a time where people are they tend to go eat or do something else, and something else is important. So thank y'all for hanging out to know what our church is about and to be able to find out how maybe you can help or what we're doing here. So thank y'all for doing that. That's all I've got. Y'all go grab lunch somewhere. Find some people to love on, to show agapeo love to today. And we'll see y'all here next Sunday, 10 o'clock. And don't forget, next Sunday night, bring somebody with you for our worship night. All right? God bless.